Hi everyone, and welcome to a lesson on point slope. This lesson has a lot more detail than the first one. The first lesson on point slope, if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. And it's a video on GoFormative number 46. Make sure you do that GoFormative number 46 and watch the video with it. It's an introduction to the equation. This is going to give you way more detail to point slope, so I wanted to start with what you should already know. So let's graph and plot these coordinates on the grid. And we like to remember that this is x, y is second, so where is -4, comma 1? We start in the origin, we go 4 this way, and up 1. So we're going to put a dot right here. That's A. And then 1, comma 8, we're going to go over 1 and up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Okay. And that one is B. And then we're going to connect those. Best we can. We can probably do better than that. Here we go. So far that is what you know to do. Plot two coordinates and make a line. Now I want you to tell me the slope. Okay. The slope is in y equals mx plus b. That's the slope, the m. We figure out the slope or steepness of a line by counting how much up we have to go and over. So let's just count that together here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 over 7 and 5. So because we go up 7 and over 5, that's our fraction, that's our slope. The slope is 7 over 5. So that's a reminder, that's how you do that. There's an equation that you learn at some point. We did not learn it this year, so this is brand new. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is for those people who do not want to graph it. I don't want to graph this. I don't want to do this at all. Someone's like, no, I'm not graphing it at all. Maybe they don't want to, okay? It's fine. But they have this formula they can use, okay? If you look over here, the two coordinates they gave you, we can label these, right? This is the first coordinate they gave us, and this is the second coordinate they gave us. Now we've designated which one's 2 and which one's 1. So if we look carefully at this formula, we can see that y2 is this one, y1 is this one, x2 is this one, and x1 is this one. If we just take this y minus that y and divide it by this x minus that x, we'll get the slope. Okay? Remember, we're trying to get this slope right here, so it should still do that. Let's see if it does. So what's the first? y2 is this number, so 8. And then the next number is minus 1. 8 minus 1. The bottom number is going to be 1, and then you're going to minus a -4. So the only way I've seen kids do this wrong is they just do this. Notice the -4, because this says -4, but you have to be careful because this is actually, there's a negative in between. So if it's a -4, we need to put -4 with it. So what happens is 8 minus 1 is 7, and 1 minus a -4 is 5. Okay. So you should be looking at that and you see, oh, we got 7/5. That's what we got when we graphed it. Some people look at that and they go, no, I can't do that. Others are like, yes, it's way easier. So depending on which side you're in, um, some teachers will ask you, please find the slope using this equation. You might have to and not be able to graph it. So it's good to know both. But you can have it now, you have it in a video forever. So let's get started with the rest of the stuff. So things to remember about slope, the point slope. There's the formula. Point slope formula. Just keep that in mind. Y minus B equals M times the quantity of X minus A. And we need to remember that for this, X is going to be A and Y is going to be B. And when I use a coordinate, I'm just going to plug it in here and here. The mistake people make if they're not careful is they plug the X where the X is and they plug the Y where the Y is, but that's not what we're doing for this. We're going to use A and plug it into A, and we're going to use B and plug it into B. Also, something important to note, this negative B, this negative is always going to be there, and this negative is always going to be there. Okay? Both these negatives are going to stay negative. If these are positive numbers, then the negative will be there. Okay? If these are negative numbers, then a negative times a negative will switch it to a positive. So the only time these are switching to positive is if you see negatives in here. Okay? And then the part I just taught you, things to remember. Okay? You can find the slope of a line by graphing the coordinates and then count up and over like we did. Or you can use the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, your choice. First problem says, write the point slope form of the equation of a line that is given through the given point. So we don't have to think too hard about what we're doing here. This is going to be your A-B situation. And then you have your M. So you go back to the formula. There's the formula. All we're doing is going to plug the 4 in for A, the negative 4 in for B, and the negative 2 for M. And the things we have to remember are, if it's positive, like A is positive, it'll come in as negative 4. Because this one B is negative, it'll come in as positive 4. So we have to switch that around. So it should look like this, y plus 4 equals negative 2 times the quantity of x minus 4. And the next one will look like, this is, let's see, A, B. So y minus B equals slope times x plus 5. And the reason why it's plus is because it's a negative here, right? However, what do you notice about 0 times anything? 0 times anything is 0. So for this problem, we don't even need anything else. We can just leave it like that. So those are your first two answers. Next, they give us two sets of coordinates, and we're going to plug them into our formula, and we're going to solve. So here we go. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we can label these so we don't forget. x1, y1, x2, y2. So when I'm plugging them in, I know which numbers to grab. So 2 minus 4 over negative 4 minus a negative 1. And 2 minus 4 is negative 2. And when these go positive, positive, you get negative 3. But 2 over 3 is just, the negatives cancel out. So my slope is 2/3. Now, that's not the answer because it's asking you to write endpoint slope. So we need to write the original equation. We just figured out what m was. And all we need to do now is plug in one of the coordinates, our choice. So we'll plug in the first coordinate, it doesn't matter. So y minus b equals m times x minus a. And we're going to put that as y minus 4 equals 2/3 times x plus 1. So the real question is, why is it a plus 1 at the end? It's a plus 1 at the end because the x coordinate is minus 1. And it's a negative 4 here because this one was just a 4 like this. That's the coordinate we use. So there's your answer for that one. The next one, same formula. Y2, we can number them. I always recommend, x1, y1, x2, y2. And then you can easily see y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. When you see this, you'll see 0 over 7. But 0 divided by anything is 0. 0 divided by anything is 0, so the slope is 0. Which is weird because that means it makes a straight line. It's flat. It doesn't go up at all. But if you think carefully, look at this. Can you imagine if I had to plot that on a coordinate grid? Both the y values are at negative 3. So if I go negative 2, negative 3, or if I go 5, negative 3, I mean, look what I've made. I made a straight line. So that means the slope is 0. And when I work this problem out, I'm going to have y, now I got to put it in this form right here, y minus b, and I'll just use the first one here. Remember, it's a comma b, y minus b, so it's going to be y plus 3, equals 0 times x minus a, but it says negative 2, so it's going to be plus 2. And then what did we already learn about 0 times that stuff? It's going to be 0. So we can get rid of that. And then here you're looking at your answer in point slope form. And if you're like thinking, why does it say plus 3? Well, you're used to seeing something like y equals minus 3. And then we could graph y equals minus 3 like that. But it's like point slope is almost solved for y, because if I had to solve this, the only way to move it over would be to minus 3 on both sides, and then I would have that equation. So it does look weird at first looking at it, but it is accurate. Write the point slope form of the equation with the line that goes through the y-intercept. So we have a slope of 8 and the y-intercept is 5. So how do we do it? I'm going to use this formula, y minus b Here's what you already know. Y equals mx plus b. You know the slope is this one and the y-intercept is that one. So what we've already been taught is 8x plus 5 and y equals negative 2x plus 5. The question is, how do we make that in point slope? Remember what I said right here? How did we get from y equals negative 3 to y plus 3 equals 0? All we had to do was minus 3 on both sides, right? We would have got there. It's kind of like that with what we already know. What if I just subtracted 5 on both sides? Think about what I would have. I'd have y minus 5 equals negative 2x. Or y minus 5 equals 8x. They're really similar. So look at that little technique. I got the answer working from what I know already and just work backwards, get that y back to the other side. Write the slope-intercept form. Now, slope-intercept form is our bread and butter, okay? Bread and butter. So we should be able to do what we just did right here. What we just did right there, we should be able to do that really quick. So, slope is negative 5, so y equals negative 5x plus 5. That's this one. Okay, and this one, y equals negative 4/5 x plus 0. And a lot of people don't put the plus 0 on there, so just you can leave it like that. What other slope-intercept can we do? How about this one in slope-intercept form? You have to know where it crosses, and you have to know how much it goes down and over, or how much it goes up and over. This one's a positive slope, this one's a negative slope. So this one, you have to look right here on this line and look along the line. Where's the next point? There's a point, there's a point, there's a point, there's a point. I'm marking so you can see it. See what I'm looking at. See that? So what's the pattern? It's going down how much? It's going over how much? Down how much? Over how much? Down how much? So if you know the pattern, then you can know, oh, it goes down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1, or negative 2x. And then this one goes up. Where's the next one? It's like, no, close, 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 close. We're just at the end. Okay, that's kind of weird, but there it is. And then you can go up that many and over that many. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And over 5. So your slope is positive 8/5, as in up 8 and over 5. Now, what's your y-intercept? This one's negative 5. What's your y-intercept? Negative 3. So we put it all together in a y equals mx plus b, as that's the slope and that's the y-intercept. Okay. So we have y equals negative 2x minus 5, and y equals 8/5 x minus 3. That's not point slope, that's slope intercept. So keep in mind that you are expected to know both. And then here you've got some stuff that's in point slope form that could be in slope intercept form. For example, we can distribute the negative, and we have y minus 4 equals negative x minus 2. Then we can add 4 to both sides. Y equals negative x plus 2. There's my slope intercept form, but that right there was point slope. And here we could just subtract 2 if you want. So x equals negative 2. Which, in case you're wondering, is going to make a straight line going down right at 2. X equals negative 2. Well, should say not 2, but negative 2. Here, we're solving. This one's a little more tricky. Minus 4x, negative y equals 3 minus 4x. You got to get rid of that negative on both sides, because a negative times a negative is a positive. But whatever, you know, once I do the other, and I have to distribute this negative in, which means the 3 becomes a negative, and it means the negative 4x becomes a positive. So 4x minus 3. And this one, we're going to move this negative 2x first. Those go bye-bye. But these do not talk to each other, so we're just going to stick them next to each other. And then lastly, we're going to divide this side by 3 and this side by 3. Okay? Both sides are getting divided by 3. But that's gone. I'm left with y equals, I have to do this division problem first, then this division problem. So 12 divided by 3 is 4, and negative 2 divided by 3 is negative 2/3. I don't have to do any division. I don't need a decimal or nothing. I can just leave it like that. And then because it's backwards, I can make it look like the way I want it to look in slope intercept form. And you can rewatch those again. I know I went pretty quick. And there's more here. We're solving for y. So move x, move this 4. Minus x plus 4. Gone, now 2y equals negative x plus 4. And then we're just going to divide both sides by 2. But remember, you have to do this fraction first. And then this division problem, 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, solving for y-intercept. This one is done. I just need to take off the negatives. They cancel out, right? You can multiply both sides by a negative 1. And I have x equals 4, which is just a straight line going down like that at 4. Okay, a few more. Give me the slope intercept form. Again, slope intercept is the one we know. Point slope's the new one. So give me slope intercept form of this one. This is us taking the y2 minus y1 approach. And plugging those in. So y2 is 3, y1 is 1, x2 is negative 5, x1 is negative 2. This is going to be 2 on top and negative 3 on the bottom, which means my slope is negative 2/3. What's my y-intercept? We don't know that. We have to actually solve this. So I can pick either coordinate. I'll pick this one, plug it in for x and y. All we have is the slope. Looks something like this. 1 equals negative 2/3 times negative 2 plus b. It's that equation. Except instead of y, I got my 1 because I got it from that coordinate. And then instead of x, I got negative 2 because I got it from that same coordinate. Now I'm just multiplying and solving. Negative 2 times negative 2 is 4/3 plus b. Solve for b minus 4/3. 1 take away 4/3. We'll turn 1 into a fraction with 3 on the bottom. See how 3/3 is still 1? See, now if you do this problem, the answer is negative 1/3. That's what b is. b equals negative 1/3. So when I write my equation, I can finally write y equals negative 2/3 x plus, or I should say minus 1/3. I'm going to do it again on this number 18, 19, and 20. Trust me, I know when you watch that, you're like, what? Okay. But watch it again, and then rewatch it. It's okay. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then label these for you to help x1, y1, x2, y2. And then plug them in correctly. So y2 is going to be 4 minus y1, which is negative 3, divided by negative 1 minus 1. So this is going to be 7, and this is going to be negative 2. So my slope is negative 7/2. And now I got to pick which one. I picked the first one last time, so I'll pick this one. And I'm going to plug it into my equation. Remember, this is my equation. Y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept form. And instead of y, I'm going to choose my y term, which is 4, instead of x negative 1. 4 equals negative 7/2 times negative 1 plus b. I don't know b yet. I can solve for it. So we're going to multiply negative 7/2 times negative 1, which is just positive 7/2, plus b equals 4. Subtract 7/2 on both sides. But I can't do 4 take away 7/2. I need to turn 4 into a fraction with 2 on the bottom. So if I choose 8/2, see, 8/2, I'll draw it a little smaller. 8/2 minus 7/2. See, 8/2 is still 4. 8 divided by 2 is still 4. But now I can actually work this fraction. 8 minus 7 is 1. The answer is 1/2. That means b equals 1/2. If I have my slope and I have my b, I just put them together in a y equals mx plus b equation. Okay, probably still confusing, but keep going. Don't stop. I got this one right here. Don't forget y2 minus y1, x2. If you're getting the hang of it now, you can try it on your own and pause it and see if you did it right. X1, y1, x2, y2. You can do negative 5 minus 5 over 2 minus 4 equals negative 10 over negative 2, which is actually just positive 5. So my slope is 5. But I need my y-intercept now, and I can choose any coordinate I want. So I'll choose 4, 5. And remember, 4, 5 is going to be x, y. In my y equals mx plus b. And my slope is 5. My x is going to be 4. And my y is 5. So I'm just solving. 5 times 4 is 20. And now I'm subtracting. So b equals negative 15. And now put it all together, right? You have both. Now put it all together and end it. Y equals 5x minus 15. And there's your slope-intercept form. Last one of those. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1, X1, Y1, X2, Y2, and you're going to put 2 minus 1 over negative 1 minus 1, and you're going to get 3 over negative 2. So your slope is negative 2 over 3. And then you're going to plug that in. Use whatever coordinate you want. I'll use this one. So that means my y equals mx plus b. I'm going to rewrite it as 2 equals negative 2/3 parentheses negative 1 plus b. And negative times a negative is a positive, so I'm rewriting this as 2/3 plus b. I need to solve for b, so I'm going to subtract 2/3 from both sides. And like we've done multiple times, I can't do 2 minus 2/3. It doesn't really work out that well. I mean, the answer is 1 1/3, but we want to see that as a fraction. So turn 2 into a fraction with 3 on the bottom, right? So if I do 6/3, see how 6 divided by 3 is still 2? But now I can actually work this problem. 6 take away 2 is 4. 4/3, which is still 1 1/3, like I said a second ago. So b equals 4/3. And I'm going to be able to write this answer out with my slope as negative 2/3 and my b, which is 4/3. How would I write that as point slope? See how I wrote it as slope-intercept form? How would I write this one as point slope? Let's do both of these equations again. This time, point slope. Why? Because the whole lesson is point slope, and we just spent a bunch of time on slope-intercept. Point slope, y minus b equals m x minus a. And don't forget that these are now treated as a comma b. All right. Now we did figure out the slope, right, for both of these, which I'm assuming we just forgot the slopes. And that's okay, right? I don't mind doing the math again. You mind. I don't mind. Okay. X, y, negative 5 minus 5 over 2 minus 4, negative 10 over negative 2, which is 5. That's the slope, 5. Okay, slope, slopey, there, boom. Over here, it was 2 minus negative 1 over negative 1 minus 1, which was 3 over negative 2. Slope was negative 3 halves. Negative 3 halves. Now, there's no more work to do. I can just be done. The whole point of point slope is I know how to put it in the formula. I got to know the slope goes right there, and I'm picking one coordinate to be my A and B and putting them in the right spots. That's it. So, if anything, the slope-intercept form that you're used to is actually harder. Point slope's just recognizing what it should look like. So I'm going to do y, and I'm going to choose this first one, and I'm going to choose that first one. So y minus b, so y minus 5, equals my slope times my x minus a, which is 4. There's that one. And then this other one is going to be y minus b, but this time my b is actually negative, so it's going to be plus 1, equals my slope, which is right there, and then x minus a, and the a is 1, so it will stay like that. Boom. So point slope is more about, do you know that formula? Can you put those numbers in the right spots? To master this, can you go back and forth? Can you go back and forth from point slope to slope intercept form? And that's actually a matter of solving for y. Look on both of these, we'll solve both for y. Can you go back and forth? Distribute, like you've learned to do. 5x minus 20. Y minus 5 equals 5x minus 20. Add 5 to both sides. So that's going to be y equals 5x minus 15. That is what we had before I erased it. See how we went backwards to it? Yeah. And then this one's going to be negative 3 halves x plus 3 halves equals y plus 1. Subtract 1 on both sides. And you have y equals negative 3 halves x. And again, we got to address this 1 here. It can't be a 1. It's got to be like 2 halves. But 3 halves take away 2 halves is 1 half. Okay, so we can write that in. All right, I think that's it. Maybe a couple more. Write the slope-intercept form of the line. So they tell you the slope, they give you the number. You're taking this. I think at this point you should realize that when it says slope-intercept, it means y equals mx plus b. And when it says point slope, you got to know that that's y minus b equals m times quantity of x minus a. I think that's the big thing. You'll have that on the GoFormative that matches this. You should watch this video side by side with doing GoFormative number 51. They'll go together, they match. This is new content. When you get new content, the video is going to be apart from the GoFormative. I want you to watch the video or do it side by side, but understand that it's got the similar stuff on there. And I don't need to do 21 and 22 because you just saw me do them. That's your video, point slope. Thank you.